Welcome to Vinyasa Flow. My name is Michelle Chua. For today's external rotating hip opening sequence, you may want to have a couple of yoga blocks and something you can use like a strap, a rope, a scarf, an actual yoga strap. And I invite you to begin in Sukhasana. You might even like to use your 2 blocks here and create a wide base of support to elevate your pelvis on, so that as you're rotating your thighs externally or turning them out at the hips, as well as abducting them or moving them away from the midline, you can allow the knees to fall apart more easily, especially if there's any tightness in your hip flexors. And then see how close together you might be able to cross the shins. The more open you're already feeling in the hips, the more you might be able to bring the middle of the shins to cross each other. Otherwise, you might need to splay them a little wider apart. So we had a discussion after yesterday's yin yoga class about vibration and how we are all vibrating at some frequency at any given moment, and our vibrations may change. As Albert Einstein said, everything in life is vibration, including us. And a vibration is a state of being, the atmosphere, or the energetic quality of a person, place, thought, or thing. So I decided to dive a little deeper and share what are ways that you can raise your vibration, and what does that even mean to raise your vibration? It's not something you can visibly see with your eyes, but definitely if somebody's vibrating high, right? And I'll explain that in a moment, or somebody's vibrating low, and you can sense people's energies without even seeing, right? So here's an article I extracted from the Chopra Center, Deepak Chopra, and it was written in 2019 by Carson McGinley, and it's called How to Raise Your Emotional and Spiritual Vibration. So first, she writes that everything in the universe is made up of molecules vibrating at different speeds. This includes trees, birds, bodies, rocks, animals, thoughts, emotions. Human vibrations are composed of everything from physical matter to the way you communicate the thoughts that you think. In simple terms, some molecules vibrate faster and some vibrate slower. There are higher vibrations and lower vibrations. When you are vibrating at a higher level, you feel lighter, happier, and more at ease. Whereas lower vibrations feel heavy, dark, and confused. Almost all spiritual traditions point the way toward higher realms of consciousness. And scientific studies like that of consciousness research and spirituality author Dr. David Hawkins have even quantified the vibrations of different states of being to create a scale of consciousness. So in this article, she writes 12 ways that you can help to raise your vibrational frequency. Number 1, gratitude. Practicing gratitude. We do that at the start of our yoga practice all the time before we set our intentions. And that's what it's for, to raise our vibration. As the life coach, Tony Robbins, you might have heard of him, has said, you can't feel fear or anger, those are emotions of lower vibrations, while feeling gratitude at the same time. A second way to raise your vibration is love. Right? Think of somebody that you really care about, that you love. One of the highest vibrating states of being is love. It's the 4th highest level on the Hawkins scale of consciousness. And it has the power to pull you out of even the deepest of ditches, like sadness or depression. A third way is practicing generosity. Anytime you get stingy or greedy with anything like attention or money, it lowers your vibration, and you can actually feel that. You can feel that shift of a lower energy. And the fourth way, and this is something that really helped me through the past several days of, recovering from COVID, is meditation and breath work. They are known scientifically to calm your nervous system, improve your mood, and bring about greater feelings of peace, which are all high vibe qualities that will benefit your state of being. Number 5 is forgiveness. According to Abraham Hicks' emotional guidance scale, blame, which is opposite of forgiveness, is a low energy. If you can work toward forgiveness, you will release yourself of this lower energy blame, and which can weigh on you like a bowling ball and put you down into the emotional scale. So according to the epic Indian poem, the Mahabharata, forgiveness is holiness. Number 6, eat high vibe food. What does that mean? Everything you consume is prana, it's life force energy. If you eat a lot of dead energy, overcooked food in the form of meat, fried or processed food, you will lower your vibration. By eating nutrient-dense, prana-rich foods like local and organic fruits and vegetables, even a lot of raw vegetables and fruits, your body literally absorbs these things, making you more light, vibrant, and alive. Number 7, reduce or eliminate alcohol and toxins from your body. While it can temporarily feel good, alcohol is actually a depressant, and it lowers a person's vibration. Number 8, think positive thoughts. Remember that you can always choose what thoughts you give your attention to and thus perpetuate. And when you choose positive thoughts, they are a key to redirecting your focus to something more positive and actually feeling the energetic shift. Number 9, consume high vibe music, TV, books, and movies. Be as selective about your media intake as you are about the quality of the food that you eat, and you will find newfound energy in your day. Bombarding yourself with a lot of depressing news or violence things on media can definitely affect your energy, and it can be exhausting emotionally and mentally. Number 10, surround yourself with beauty, things that feel uplifting to you. Number 11, go for a walk outside. Nature is healing. Nature is medicine. Number 12, be sure your relationships are vibing high. Surround yourself with people who lift you up rather than drag you down. So in conclusion, the article sums up and says that it can be tempting to succumb to a feeling of helplessness with regard to the future of the planet and all its inhabitants, but channeling your efforts into raising your energetic frequency is one of the best gifts you can give the world. When you lift yourself up, you bring others with you. This is the only way you can contribute to raising the collective consciousness of the world. So with that, let's lift our vibrations through our practice of yoga. Let's sit still, take a moment to check in with yourself. Notice how you're feeling in your physical body right now. What is needing your attention the most? Notice the way your body is naturally breathing, and sense your energy right now. Do you feel high or low in energy? What kind of frequency does it seem like you're vibrating at? Tune into your mind and your emotions. What's present for you there? Let's slow the breath down as a means of grounding. So inhaling deeply through your nose. Exhaling slowly through your lips. Inhaling a little deeper through the nose. Exhaling a little longer through the lips. Continue to deepen your breath. And now call to mind something that you truly appreciate in this moment. Practicing gratitude. And from that higher state of vibrating, now welcome your intention. What would you like to focus on and expand in your own experience through this practice? And then let's make an offering so that our practice is not only of benefit to us as individuals, but to those around us. So call to mind somebody you'd like to dedicate today's practice to. Together, let's join our voices, chanting Om in a collective vibration 3 times. Inhale deeply. Bowing in, recognize the light of your inner teacher, tuning into your body and tailoring your physical practice as you need at your pace. Let's continue with Ujjayi Pranayama, directing your energy to a feeling of balance by balancing the length of your inhales and exhales, if you can, while just breathing through your nose. Create a very gentle whispering sound to your breath by softly narrowing or constricting the back of your throat. Listen to that sound as a means to focus your mind. As you keep that sound rhythm going to your breath, please make your way to stand at the top of your mat. You may like to have blocks out in front of your feet on their tallest height. And then come to stand, please, in mountain pose with your hands together at your heart center in Padasana, separating your feet hips distance apart, parallel to each other. Root down through the 4 corners of your feet, standing tall, bringing your intention to mind and heart. Let's begin our practice of sun salutations. We'll go right into moving 1 breath, each posture. In our first series, Surya Namaskar C. On your next inhale, sweep your arms forward and roll your shoulders back and down, tilting your gaze and heart up. As you exhale, hinge forward from your hips. Feel free to bend the knees as you bow, cultivating a flat back. Plant your fingertips on the ground outside your heels, and inhale, step the left knee behind you to a kneeling lunge, gaze up. While holding your breath, step into your version of plank pose. Exhale as you lower your knees, chest, then chin, sticking the tailbone up in Ashtangasana. Inhale as you slither your belly to the ground and coil your chest up into Cobra pose. Exhale as you lift your hips back into downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot forward beside your left thumb. Lower your right knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and fold. Inhale, sweep your arms forward, rising to stand in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bring your palms together from your crown center to your heart center. Side 2, inhale, raise your arms in Urdhva Hastasana and lightly coil your chest up. Exhale, bow forward in Uttanasana. Plant your fingertips down. Inhale, step the right knee back to a kneeling lunge, gazing up. As you hold your breath, step into plank pose. Exhale, Ashtangasana, lower knees, chest, then chin. Inhale, Cobra or Bhujangasana, slide to the floor and coil your chest up. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb, lower your left knee and gaze up. Exhale, step your left foot forward and bow. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, rising to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale as though blessing yourself. Join your hands in prayer from your crown down to your heart center. Let's move on to Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, raise the arms. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward fold. This time, press your fingertips on your blocks, your shins are the ground, and inhale, lengthen your spine forward to Ardha Uttanasana. As you exhale, carefully step to plank and glide your spine forward. Bend your elbows back to hug your side ribs in Chaturanga Dandasana. And inhale into Cobra or Upward Facing Dog. Exhale back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, Downward Facing Dog. Let's hold still. Steady your gaze on one focal point and tune into 3 slow breaths. When you finish the third exhalation on empty breath, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat. There, inhale, press with your hands and lengthen forward to Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. Root down to your feet. Inhale, rise up to Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bring your hands in prayer to your heart center, Padasana. Let's practice that once more. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Walk to plank or float lightly into Chaturanga Dandasana, taking it through your Vinyasa at your pace. Let's meet in Adho Mukha Svanasana, cultivating stillness again for 3 slow breaths. Bring your intention to heart and mind. When you finish the third exhale, walk or float to the front of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Padasana. Let's join the feet to touch, preparing for our last series, Surya Namaskar B, starting in chair pose. Empty this breath. As you inhale, bend your knees together to touch. Maybe graze the ground with your fingertips and keep your hips that low as you raise the arms up in Utkatasana. Exhale, shift your weight forward and bow from your hips in Uttanasana. Press with your hands. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Walk to plank or float to Chaturanga. Take it through your Vinyasa. From Downward Facing Dog, inhale, raise your right leg behind you. As you exhale, softly step the foot forward beside your right thumb and drop your left heel. Inhale, rise to stand in Warrior One. Exhale all the way down from plank, finishing your Vinyasa. From Downward Dog, inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale the foot lightly beside your left thumb. Spin your right heel down. Inhale, rise to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale all the way down into your Vinyasa. Once again, in Downward Facing Dog. Let's pause for 3 deep breaths. When you finish the third out breath, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees together, Utkatasana. Exhale, rise up, Padasana. Let's take that one last time. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Step to plank or float to Chaturanga. Keep going to your Vinyasa. Downward dog. Inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale the foot forward, spin the left heel down. Inhale, rise up to Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale all the way down through your Vinyasa. Second side from downward facing. Inhale, left leg back. Exhale the foot forward, drop the right heel. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 1. Exhale into your Vinyasa. Downward dog. Cultivate stillness and balance in the breath. 3 breaths. When you finish the third, walk or lightly jump to the front of your mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, Padasana. Separate the feet here, hips distance again, or wider, parallel to each other. And reach the hands behind you to clasp, or grab a strap to hold between the hands. We can open up the front to the shoulders, the chest. Roll the shoulders behind you and inhale, gaze up. Exhale, begin to bow from your hips, cultivating a long, sort of flat back, so that if needed, you bend the knees to enable that. Let the head fall freely. You might gently shake and nod your head a few times. And as you're stretching the arms further away from your lower back, slightly bend your elbows and lift the shoulders away from your neck, tilting your weight forward. Tune into another 2 to 3 breaths here. Please make your way to downward facing dog. Optional to take another vinyasa or cows first. As you arrive in downward dog, steadying your breath, inhale, sweep your right leg behind you, squaring your hips, balancing them in height. As you exhale, hug your right knee outside your right shoulder as you glide forward to plank pose. And lightly as you can, step the foot beside your right thumb in a high lunge. Inhale, rise up into crescent pose. Pause for a full cycle of breath here. On your next inhale, spin your left heel down and align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot, opening the arms wide in Warrior 2. Right away, steady your gaze on one spot just beyond your right fingertips. While bending your right knee directly above your right heel, firm the outer edge of your left foot deeply into the earth. While rotating your right outer hip underneath your body to splay the right thigh open, firm the top of your left thigh bone back. Stacking your shoulders right above your hips. Lengthen through the center of your spine and let the shoulders relax. 2 more breaths. Virabhadrasana 2. Straightening your right leg, let's prepare for triangle pose. Glide your hips sideways towards your rear wall as you reach the right hand far towards the horizon, past your right knee. Place the right hand on the right side of your right shin on a block or the floor, where your arm and leg can firm against each other. As you continue to wrap the right sitting bone under you, direct it towards your inner left heel. Spin your chest slightly to face the sky as you're steadying your gaze on one spot, maybe past the left thumb, and lengthen the top of your head towards the front wall while pressing the shoulder blades down your back ribs. Tuning into another 4 or so deep breaths here in Trikonasana. Gazing down at the ground just ahead of your right foot, let's prepare for half moon pose. You may like to place the left hand on your left hip as you transition. Take your time, connect with your breath. Bending your right knee, crawl your right fingertips about 6 inches ahead of your right pinky toe, out to the right corner. Keep your right foot still and drag the left foot forward. Flex the left foot as you raise the left leg just about parallel to the ground. Turn your chest to face the left wall so that you're naturally stacking your 2 shoulders above your right wrist. Tacking the crease of your right hip back towards your lifted left heel. Maybe raise the left arm up like you did in triangle pose. Playing with your version of Ardha Chandrasana, steady your gaze and tune into the flow of your breath. With an exhalation, softly step your left foot back to the rear of your mat and side bend towards the rear wall. Raising your right arm overhead, inhale into peaceful warrior. Exhale back to downward facing dog. Downward dog. Inhale, raise your left leg behind you while squaring your hips. Exhale, hug the left knee outside your left shoulder in plank pose. And softly as you can, step the foot beside your left thumb in a high lunge. Inhale, rise up to stand in crescent pose. Pause for 1 cycle of breath. On your next inhale, align your left heel to the arch of your right foot, spinning the right heel down, and open your arms into Warrior Two. Right away, land your eyes on one focal point, just past your left hand. As you bend your left knee, just above your left heel, root the outer edge of your right foot deeply into the ground. As you spin your left outer hip beneath you, splaying the left thigh open, firm the top of your right thigh bone back. Stacking your shoulders right above your hips, lengthen through the center of your spine and relax your shoulders down. Couple last breaths in Virabhadrasana 2. Straightening your left leg, let's prepare for triangle pose. Glide your hips sideways towards your rear wall. Reach your left hand towards your front wall before placing it just on the left side of your left leg, on a block or the floor. Firming your left arm and leg against each other, keep spinning your left sitting bone underneath your body. As you tack the crease of your left hip back towards your right outer heel, lengthen your torso and the crown of your head forward towards the front wall, while spiraling your chest slightly to face the sky. Landing your eyes with intention. Sense the quality of your breath here. Trikonasana. Let's prepare to transition to half moon pose. Gaze at the ground ahead of your left foot. Keep your breath steady. Keep your left foot exactly where it is in the direction it's facing. And you might choose to place the right hand on your right hip. Bend the left knee, crawl the left fingertips about 6 inches ahead of your left pinky toe out to the left corner, on a block or the floor. Drag your right foot forward and flex it as you raise the right leg just about parallel to the ground, turning your chest to face the right wall, where you can naturally stack your 2 shoulders directly above your left wrist. Maybe raising the right arm up. can you still hear the whispering sound of your breathing? Use that as your mental focus point. Another 4 breaths here in Ardha Chandrasana. With your next exhalation, step your right foot slowly back to the floor at the rear of your mat and side bend towards your rear wall into Peaceful Warrior. Inhale as you raise the left arm overhead. This time, rise to stand and step up to the top of your mat. Grab a strap. We're going to practice hand to big toe pose, a standing, externally rotating hip opening posture to play with balance. So, you may find a strap useful. You may prefer not to use one. Let's start using one, and if you find that you don't need it, you can drop it. Start with your feet touching as you're standing tall in mountain pose. Remember that mountain pose is not simply standing. You're actively rooting down, pressing your weight down evenly through the 4 corners of each foot, thus activating the muscles in your legs and your center while lengthening up through the center of your spine. There are forces happening, right? So feel that. Now feel the forces of the breath, this balanced flow of in and out. Remember, it's not physical yoga where you're connecting your breath, mind, and body if you're not conscious of your breathing. So bring the breath as a powerful component into the pose. Now, using the strap, place the ball of your right foot either into the loop, if you're able to make one, or the center of the strap. Hold the strap in your right hand, so I'm gonna mirror you here. Place your left hand on your left hip and notice that generally, when your 2 feet are on the floor, your 2 frontal hip bones are like a scale that's balanced. They're both the same height. When you lift a leg, it's natural for that hip to hike up, but then that throws us off center. Literally, it's harder to balance. So when you do lift the leg, not yet, then you want to consciously drop the hip of the leg that's lifted so that you're rebalancing the scale that is your hips and balancing the scale that is your shoulders right above your balanced hips. As you stack these blocks, think of them as Legos, right? You want to have them stacked one on top of the other. If they're misaligned, then it already starts to challenge the balance. So bring the alignment there, bring the breath there. So find a little push and pull. As you're pulling the strap taut with the right hand, kick into the strap with your right foot. So flex the right foot and kick the strap away at the same time. Even though you're standing in mountain pose, you want to feel those counter forces so that when you lift the right knee bent, go ahead and do that. Bring the right arm on the inside of the right leg. You're already pushing and pulling with the strap. Now notice the scale that is your hips. Is the right hip lifting higher? If so, drop the right hip and zipper up through the navel. How's the breath? Now from here, you can decide how much you're going to kick the right foot forward towards straightening the right leg. Only kick it straight to the amount that your spine can stay vertical where your 2 shoulders are balanced right above your 2 hips. Once you start doing this or counter, overcompensating, it's already hard to balance. So you can keep the knee bent if you need. Now, some of you might not use a strap if you find it possible to clasp the big toe with your peace fingers, extend the leg, and still have the shoulders stacked above the hips. How's your breath? No rush to get where we're going because each breath is right here. Here's where we are. Now, begin to rotate the right thigh at the hip socket like you're turning a doorknob. Keep it in the same location, but spin the right leg so the knee and toes begin to point at the right wall. Notice the leg hasn't moved location. You're just rotating. Now begin to abduct the leg, which means now splay it away from the midline of your body. And then do the same with the left arm. Splay it away from the midline of your body to counterbalance. So you're creating that scale on a larger scale through your arms and legs. How's the breath here? And you feel your standing foot, not just standing and leaning weight into the ground. You're rebounding your weight off the ground. You're actively pressing into the ground to lift the energy up. Can you feel the rebounding effect of kicking your foot into the strap or into your fingers as you pull the foot towards you? Those counter forces are essential in feeling expansive and stable at the same time. How is your breathing? The way you direct your energy and steady your mind to your breath affects your balance. There are so many components to balancing. Now, if you feel pretty stable and you want to challenge your balance some more, stay where you are and gaze over your left shoulder towards your left thumb. If you don't need to challenge your balance, there's plenty happening, don't add this step, right? You're tailoring your practice to what's here in the moment for you. Wherever you are, finish one more cycle of breath. This is called hand to big toe pose. Begin to look forward if you're looking away. Begin to extend the right leg in front of you. Raise the left arm up. Stay focused here. Root down to your standing foot. Lengthen up to the center line of your body. Deep breath. Exhale, slowly step the right foot down to meet the left. Let the transition out of the pose be just as important as getting into and sustaining the posture. Remember, the pose itself is not the yoga, at least in my perspective. It's what you're doing when you're in the pose. Are you uniting your body, your mind, your breath? That is the practice of yoga. Take a moment here. Pause. Tune inward. What surfaced for you in your body or your mental experience? And how are you continuing to take responsibility for your own vibration? Thoughts you're feeding, your energetic approach to these postures. Now, if you find that a strap might be useful, you can step the ball of your left foot into the strap, hold the strap in your left hand. Let your feet touch as you're standing in mountain pose with the right hand on your right hip. Take a moment here and feel this reference point of balancing. Shoulders above two balanced hips, actively rooting the feet down as you're actively lifting energy up the spine. It looks like I'm just standing, right? But there's a lot that I'm engaging internally. So the balance starts here, not when you're in the balancing pose. So feel the breath. How are you creating balance through the breath right now? Once we start to hold the breath, there's imbalance happening. Be aware of all the components that contribute to balancing. So from here, as soon as you lift the left knee, kick into the strap and pull the strap. Those are counterbalancing forces, right? If I'm just pulling the strap and the leg is just limp, there's only one force happening here. It's just going down. But if I'm kicking and pulling, there's the balance. There's balance happening, right? So you can decide how much you choose to straighten the leg forward, where you can maintain the balance of your shoulders above your hips. If it's possible here, you can clasp the big toe with your index and middle fingers, kick the foot away as you pull it. Remember to balance your two hips, so draw the left sitting bone down towards the inner right heel. Feel your standing foot. And you feel the pushing off the floor and lifting energy up? Or is it just simply sinking into the floor? Root down to rise up. So listen to the breath. No rush. Step by step, moment by moment. Start to externally rotate your left thigh bone at the hip, slowly rotating the leg, but keeping it where it is. Then begin to abduct, which now means move the location of the leg. Open left leg, right arm. slowly. You don't have to do it to an extreme extent where it starts to need compensation in the body like this, right? Once that's happening, I've gone too far. So if you take it slowly by slowly, you know when that's about to happen, that tilting off center, and then you can retract a little and come back to center, right? If you go too fast, you miss it, right? You miss that point of, oh, here's where the balance is. So rooting into the ground, rising up. How is your breath? If you need to challenge yourself, start to look over your right shoulder towards your right thumb. Let's tune into another 3 breaths. So the Sanskrit name for this posture is Uttita Hasta Parangushtasana. If you're looking away, start to look forward. Treat the transition as important as the pose, so take your time. Slowly bring the left leg in front of you. Slowly raise the right arm overhead. Stand tall, root down to rise. Breathe here. Very slowly step the left foot down to meet the right. And then pause. Maybe close the eyes, maybe rest a hand to the heart center, a hand to the lower belly. Allow a moment to digest and reflect upon your experience. What came up for you and how did you relate to what came up for you? As you continue Ujjayi breathing, please come down onto your hands and knees. And we're going to open up the fronts of the thighs and hips just a bit more. This is also a hip opener because your hips go all the way around. So opening up the fronts of the hips in supine hero's pose. So decide how you'll sit in hero's pose. Some may choose to put a block between the ankles and elevate the pelvis. Some may choose to sit directly on the calves if that feels fine. Some may choose directly to sit on the floor between the ankles. Make sure that your feet are neither turned out nor turned in. Toes are pointed back. And as you hug the front ribs in towards your back body and keep the knees grounded, no wider than hips distance apart, slowly begin to your capacity to lean your torso back, breath by breath. You don't get a gold medal or a trophy for leaning all the way back as quickly as you can. So, tune into how your body is guiding you today. Whatever you've experienced today affects the degree in which you need to explore certain poses in your practice that day. So part of being present and honest, which is satya, that's in the second limb of yoga, honesty to ourselves, is to not rush things and compare how I practiced one pose the last time. Oh, I need to do it that much here too. Nope. It's about listening to what's here now and what might be different. How am I being present with what's here now? Let's stay for about 5 more deep breaths here in Supta Virasana. Take your time when you're ready to very slowly lift your torso upright. And let's meet lying on our backs, preparing for bridge pose. You may like to have a block, adding additional support for the lower back by hugging the skinniest width of the block between your knees and thighs, separating your feet about as wide apart as your knees are, which is generally about hips distance apart, and paralleling your feet to each other. And as you bring your arms down by your sides, really close to your side ribs, place your heels where you could almost touch them with your fingertips, but not quite. Press down firmly through the four corners of each foot as you hug the block firmly, and ground your shoulders. Tilt your chin slightly away from the chest. Let's prepare to lift the pelvis and stay lifted for your count of 5 to 10 breaths in one bridge pose. When you're ready, begin to tilt your tailbone up. Stretch the tailbone forward towards the block. Isometrically drag the heels back as you stretch the fronts of your thighs forward, and slightly spin the inner thighs towards the ground, walking your upper arms closer together under your back ribs. Keep your arms straight, and if your hands meet, you might interlace your fingers. Full, expansive breaths in Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, bridge pose. Take your time when you're ready to slowly lower your upper back, middle back, and finally the tailbone. Decide for your second of 3 back bends whether you're going to practice bridge pose again or roll onto your belly where you are for bow pose. So lying face down to prepare for bow, Dhanurasana. If you're going into bow, slide your knees as close together as you can. Bend your knees and catch your outer or inner feet with your hands. Kick your feet away as you pull them towards you, lifting your knees high, no wider apart than hips distance apart, and rolling the shoulders back and down, tilting your heart forward as you gaze slightly down. 5 to 10 breaths, your second back bend. Those of you that asked before class to focus on opening the chest and the fronts of the shoulders, here specifically are postures that help to do that. When you're done, right where you are, just drop everything and be still for 3 breaths. Observe your energy, your body. For your last back bend, choose bridge, bow, or upward facing bow. Upward facing bow, you could choose to use a block between your inner thighs or not. Just make sure you don't turn out the feet or turn out the thighs. Make sure they stay parallel to each other to support your lower back. So only take upward bow if you know how to practice upward bow on your own. So whatever is your last back bend, take it at your pace for 5 to 10 breaths. Urdhva Dhanurasana. Let's meet lying down on our backs. Don't hug your knees into your chest just yet. Instead, with your knees bent, separate your feet on the ground wider apart than hips distance, and separate your knees as wide apart as your feet. Then as you keep your feet on the ground, windshield wiper just once, drop your knees both to the right, Point your left knee down the center line of your mat. And notice how you're feeling along the left side of your lower back and front of the hip. If plenty sensations are happening there, stay right here. If not much is happening, lift your right foot and place the ankle just above your left knee. Maybe also raise the arms overhead and hold opposite elbows, dropping the shoulders down the back. 5 more breaths here. So we focus quite a bit on externally rotating the thighs, which means turning them out at the hip sockets. Now we're doing the opposite to your left thigh. It's internally rotated. So offering balance by doing an opposite action. Let's come back to center. Step the feet apart, wider than hips distance. Drop the knees both to the left. Point your right knee down the midline of your mat. Observe the sensations along the right side of your lower back, front of the hip. And either stay here or cross the left ankle just above the right knee, and maybe switch the hold of the elbows on top with arms overhead. 5 breaths. Coming out of the posture now, feel free to hug your knees into your chest. Maybe take happy baby pose if you like. Please rock your way up to sit or seated forward fold. With legs straight in front of you, choose if you'd like to use a strap around the balls of your feet as an extension of your arms, or to eventually clasp your big toes, as long as you're not rounding the back. So root your sitting bones down, separate your feet hips distance, and flex them. As you inhale, root the pelvis down and sit a little bit taller. Keep your shoulders relaxed, your throat open. And as you exhale, hug in the belly and start to hinge forward, just breath by breath from the hips. Taking a slight lift in your chest for about 5 more breaths. Posture in Sanskrit is called Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. Pressing the hips down, inhale, slowly rise up. Let's lay the feet apart, wider than hips distance, setting up for Shavasana. If you'd like some lower back support, you can use your 2 blocks or a pillow. Place them right under the backs of your knees like this. Coming to lie down on your back. You might turn the palms to face up by your sides and the shoulders rest down. With eyes closed, inhale slowly through the nose. Imagine filling up your entire body with fresh prana, life force energy. Hold the breath in for a few seconds. And as slowly as you can, exhale through the lips anything you'd like to release so that you can feel a little lighter, more balanced, and free. Shavasana. We'll be here for a few minutes. As you rest here a little longer, with your eyes still closed, scan your awareness throughout your body and notice the physical effects of your yoga practice. Then take your time to, little by little, gently move your body out of stillness, slowly waking it up. Gradually, please turn over onto your right side and rest your head there for a moment. Bringing awareness to the flow of breath, just as it is. Notice your energy right now, and you sense the frequency at which you're vibrating. Take your time lifting your body upright into a comfortable seat for 5 minutes of meditation. You might choose a mudra to place your hands in that supports the feeling tone you're cultivating. One of my go-to mudras for meditating is stacking the palms face up at the center of my lap with thumb tips touching, which cultivates neutrality of mind, inner calm. Decide to close your eyes or steady a soft gaze on one spot that helps you to focus. Let's begin our practice of meditation. Letting the breath flow in its natural ease. Gently rest your awareness where you can easily feel the breath. Now I invite you to bring your attention to your mental state and your emotional state. Your emotions are a huge indicator of whether you're vibrating at a high frequency or a low frequency. You might place your palms to meet at the heart center, which is not only a gesture of gratitude, but a gesture of union, the divine feminine and divine masculine within. Call to heart something you now appreciate. Once again, practicing gratitude. Then remember what your intention was for this practice. And remember that someone that you chose to dedicate this practice to. Together, let's join our voices to close. Chanting Om 3 times is a means of sharing the benefits of our practice with the life around us, sending out the vibration of Om. Inhale deeply. Bowing in, gratitude to the light within. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.